So the Colts have Fever players out. Sophie was not there, but they give everyone jerseys. And Caitlin Clark, grew up in Iowa, is a Chiefs fan, refused to wear the Colts jersey. She just held it up like this. And she hasn't gone out and said, like, I didn't do it because I'm a Chiefs fan, but the internet was like, she's a real one.
I love it.
And it's just like...
Caitlin Clark is more than just the WNBA's public face. Sophie Cunningham claims that she is in charge of the entire operation in Indiana. Additionally, what Cunningham recently disclosed on her podcast has fans losing their minds and league insiders scrambling. Thoughts: LeBron-level control, covert team tactics to eliminate her, and a commissioner who recently received utterly ruined on social media. However, the issue that no one is discussing is that this goes far beyond power jealousy, and a league unprepared for Clark's contributions and Cunningham's revelations are at the heart of this basketball story. Disproves everything we believe to be true about the WNBA's sisterhood. Sophie Cunningham didn't hold back and revealed a shocking revelation that no one had anticipated when she sat down for her most recent podcast episode. And the consequences are still being felt. Playing for the Fever is not all that Clark does. The offensive system is under her control, has a significant influence on team choices, and essentially manages the business like a seasoned superstar who's been 10 years in the league. Cunningham likened Clark's impact to that of LeBron James, stating that she possesses the kind of power that, even after years of demonstrating their abilities, most novices could only imagine attaining. This was not a lighthearted remark. Either way, Cunningham has played with some of the biggest names in women's sports, so she is well-versed in the league. Basketball. People pay attention when she speaks. Basketball communities were rocked by the revelation, because it validated a lot of suspicions that no one dared to voice. A novice with such power? In professional sports, that is practically unheard of, and the league is unable to overlook the discomfort it is causing veterans. Nor was the analogy to LeBron made at random. Consider it that LeBron was highly anticipated when he entered the NBA. However, before front offices began constructing whole franchises around him, even he had to prove himself. His perception, as soon as Clark arrived in Indianapolis, he took charge of the team's future. Cunningham disclosed that Clark is frequently consulted by coaching staff regarding play modifications and even hiring decisions that are abnormal for a rookie, much less a recent college graduate. According to Cunningham, Clark, the Fever gave her the keys to the kingdom months ago. Hasn't let me down. She's demonstrated that she can manage that responsibility, but the fact that she has it is creating a great deal of tension in the league. Veterans who have worked for years are observing a 22-year-old function with power they have never been given. However, the real tea was served when Cunningham revealed what was going on behind closed doors. In the first season of Clark's career, teams weren't merely attempting to outscore her on the scoreboard. They were planning to physically and psychologically destroy her. Cunningham disclosed that her previous squad, the Phoenix Mercury, openly discussed making Clark's life miserable during every game in the locker room. The tactic was brutal and straightforward. Push the limits of what the referees would call toughen up, hurry up, get physical, and check to see if the college star could handle dirty situations in the major leagues. This was not a game of basketball. Under the guise of veteran hazing, this was psychological warfare. Mercury players talked candidly about how they had to put Clark to the test, make fun of her, and let her know that the WNBA wasn't going to throw a lavish party simply because she attracted millions of viewers and corporate sponsorships to the league. Not every player was named by Cunningham engaged in these discussions, but she made it very evident that this was a concerted effort from several veterans who were genuinely alarmed by the amount of attention Clark was receiving. Consider the ramifications of this. Despite being hailed by the media as women's basketball's savior, Clark was entering arenas where opponents had actually planned out how to scare her. The physical abuse she endured wasn't unintentional or merely a feature of the game. It was planned, deliberate, and intended to convey a message. Veterans wanted to know if she would either give in to pressure or resist. They wanted to know if Clark was just another overhyped college player or if the hype was genuine, who would find it difficult to compete professionally. All of Clark's fans' complaints are validated by Cunningham's admission made during the season regarding the care she was given. Then came the turning point in Cunningham's life. into the unofficial bodyguard for Clark. Things quickly got out of hand during a heated game between Mercury and the Fever. In what appeared to be a purposefully violent altercation, Clark became entangled with a Mercury player, and all of a sudden, Cunningham was in the center of it all, shocking everyone with how fiercely she defended her new teammate. Observing, everything was captured by the cameras. Cunningham threw her body between Clark's opponents, got in their faces, and made it very evident that anyone pursuing Clark would have to pass through her first. The internet blew up. Videos of Cunningham defending Clark received millions of views on all social media platforms. Everyone was discussing it on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Her number of followers increased dramatically from between 400,000 and more than 1 million practically overnight, and companies immediately began pursuing partnerships. You know what she did during that game that earned her a $900 fine? She wore it as a badge of honor and essentially challenged the league to impose another fine on her. Later, Cunningham made a joke about it on social media, saying it was the greatest $900 she ever spent because it made her position clear to the world and what she was prepared to give up. For her teammate, she didn't prepare for or try out for the enforcer role, but after accepting it, there was no going back. All of a sudden, Cunningham was more than just a reliable WNBA player. She was Clark's protector, the only player in the league prepared to publicly defend a rookie. Everyone else appeared resolute to demolish. Not only did that viral moment increase her profile, but it also drastically altered how players and Sam made the decision that she wasn't done stirring up controversy or damaging relationships with league executives. Kathy Engelbert, WNBA commissioner, made some offensive remarks during an interview, especially when she said Clark's name next to a sum of $16 to $19 million. According to Engelbert, Clark's arrival brought significant financial gains to the league, which is factually correct. However, the way she phrased it gave the impression that the league deserved. Instead of admitting that Clark was the source of the financial boost, credit was given to her star power. When Cunningham became enraged, she took to Instagram and viciously attacked Engelbert in a post that didn't allow for interpretation. The post went viral after she referred to her as the WNBA's most delusional leader. Minutes, players, fans, and media figures all offered their opinions. Cunningham was commended by some for speaking the truth to power and expressing opinions that other participants were too afraid to voice in public. Others believed she had gone too far and showed the commissioner disrespect in a way that might harm her career in the long run. However, no one could ignore it. All of a sudden, Engelbert was on the defensive because the post was everywhere, compelled to respond to criticism from one of the most prominent players in the league. Engelbert wasn't the target of Cunningham's attacks, nor was he merely attempting to get attention, create drama. She was genuinely incensed that the commissioner appeared to be claiming credit for Clark's impact while also failing to shield her from the physical abuse and harassment she experienced. For the duration of the season, the league office saw Clark lose game after game, and Cunningham claims that they took no significant action to deal with it. The criticism was direct, intimate, and totally unrestricted. Cunningham avoided using formal or diplomatic language. She expressed her thoughts clearly and didn't later offer an apology. Given that the WNBA is still a relatively small league, the move was risky. Where a player's career may suffer as a result of severing ties with leadership, however, Cunningham obviously reached a point where speaking up was preferable to remaining silent. Fans who had been dissatisfied used her Instagram post as a rallying cry with how Clark's rookie season was handled by the league. Additionally, it revealed a widening gap between players who think the league must defend its stars and those who believe that receiving preferential treatment compromises the integrity of competition. Of the game, the revelations from the podcast continued and intensified. Cunningham continued beyond praising Clark's skill or standing up for her integrity in the face of criticism. She attacked everyone with all of her might who refused to recognize Clark as the league's unchallenged face, and she didn't withhold any punches. Cunningham criticized detractors in an NSFW tirade that caused listeners to hit rewind and share clips everywhere, and skeptics by name and reputation, stating that anyone who doesn't regard Clark as the focal point of the WNBA is genuinely ignorant and likely envious of the attention she is getting. She wasn't playing around or holding back. Politics. This was an honest, unvarnished viewpoint from someone who has served in the trenches and knows exactly what Clark contributes more than just her performance on the court. Cunningham went into great detail about how Clark's influence extends beyond Instagram followers, highlights, and statistics. She has given women's basketball previously unheard of public attention. Ticket websites crashed, sold out arenas that were previously half empty, and attracted casual fans who never suddenly became obsessed with watching her play in the WNBA. Sales of merchandise surged. TV viewership increased by 2 and 3 times. For decades, corporate sponsors disregarded women's basketball. Wanted, and all of a sudden, according to Cunningham, to reject that reality is to be deliberately ignorant or so overcome by jealousy that you are unable to see beyond your own ego. Rising tides lift all boats, she said, referring to all WNBA players. Whether they want to acknowledge it or not, they profit monetarily and professionally from the attention Clark attracts. Or not. However, this is where things start to get interesting, and this is the section that truly demonstrates the intricacy of their connection. Despite all of the public backing, bodyguard moments that went viral, and defending Cunningham and Clark's relationship, isn't there a picture-perfect scenario where teammates adore each other and spend all of their leisure time together? Collectively, Cunningham was essentially roasted in a swimsuit promotional post. Everyone can see Clark's appearance in the comment section. Yes, it was lighthearted banter, but it revealed a side of their dynamic that fans don't always recognize or comprehend. They don't have a lot in common and are not best friends. Bracelets of friendship. They are rivals who value one another's skills, recognize what the other person has to offer to the team, but don't hesitate to be critical when the situation demands it or when one of them does something worth roasting. Cunningham has never been one to fabricate connections for the sake of the public, or act as though you're close to someone just for the sake of social media. Apparently, Clark isn't either. Their relationship is based on respect for one another, a passion for competition, and a sincere comprehension of what it takes to be successful at the highest degree, not on hanging out all the time outside of team activities or being buddy-buddy off the court. They encourage one another during practice, support one another when things get tough, and don't hesitate to call each other out when needed. In actuality, that is far more valuable than a forced friendship based solely on Instagram posts. As well as team PR, the comment about the swimsuit demonstrated that genuine relationships have layers, and sometimes the best teammates are the ones who maintain authenticity even in front of cameras. What does this actually mean for the league, then? For Clark, and for women's basketball's future, Clark's level of influence upon joining the WNBA is entirely defies all conventional norms and updates the guidelines for treating rookie superstars. She is not making her dues payments.